Hi there. Thank you so much for watching this week's video message. So let's talk a little bit about memory. I'm going to sort of model a strategy that I had used with a student earlier today. But let's talk a little bit about working memory and some linkages to executive function. So many people out there lately have a lot of questions about um, working memory as it pertains with learning in the classroom and executive function. And so I'm going to recommend a book that you pick up that I think is really practical. And it's called right here, Working Memory and Learning, a Practical Guide for Teachers. I will put the link to this book in the video below, so you can check that out. But if you're really wondering how our students are holding information and being able to manipulate it and complete tasks, this is a great book, and it's particularly helpful if you're working with children in the intervention setting, as I am. And as we know, as humans, we can hold, as they say in the research, maybe up to 7 pieces of information at one time. That's why we always have that 7-digit phone number, right? Of course, now we have to remember area codes too, if you're in the US. But I remember at one point, and I'm aging myself, when we didn't have to. All right. But when we're working with students, particularly ones like I work with who are challenged by their maybe lower working memory, and yet we want to review concepts with them, we want to create activities that help them work towards mastery, then we really need to be very mindful of the amount of information that we're giving within any one session. Because when we are sort of overloading that the amount of tasks and overloading their working memory, that's going to disrupt really how efficient they are. It's really going to disrupt the amount of progress that they're going to make. You may even notice students just become a bit more just forgetful or even frustrated. Those are all sort of signs that things are starting to feel overloaded. And that can also affect the social emotional side of things when we are giving them too many pieces of information within one lesson. And I think that is a point that is going to cause a lot of educators to really reflect and think about, well, how much information am I giving in one given lesson? Is it too much for certain students? Am I breaking the steps down? Am I being explicit and direct? Am I using a structured approach? Am I asking them to handle too many tasks? Am I asking my students to multitask? Because that really isn't efficient for learning when we are really really trying to teach a particular skill or concept to get towards mastery. Okay, so let me just relay a story that I had with a particular student. So this student really does have challenges with working memory. So we're lots of repetition, lots of explicit direct instruction, plenty of review time. I'm always mindful about the amount of information that I want this person to hold in when I'm reviewing. So we've done quite a bit of practice with the VCE syllable type. Very hands-on and multisensory, of course, very structured. And we've gone through each of the vowels in isolation, and we got to the point where we're at a point where we're reviewing all the vowels. And so what I wanted was not only to see how they demonstrated their mastery with, of course, decoding and encoding, but could they really verbalize what that VCE syllable type was. And sometimes when we ask them kids to verbalize, that's kind of challenging because there may be some tricky vocabulary words in there. And so what we want to try to do is just break it down to very simple steps. So what I did was and I'm just modeling it in a pocket chart, but you could just sort of lay them out on the table. But in here, just for purposes that I'm showing, I'll let you know how I did that. So we're talking about the VCE syllable type. Okay. And so what I try to break it down to is just 3 main points. Okay. So like 3 is the magic number. The other thing that I do is create them as like little sentence starters or like short phrases. Um, not a lot of heavily, not a lot of lengthy sentences or heavy, uh, you know what I mean, like lengthy sentence starters. So I try to keep them like, 2 or 3 sentences long. Sorry, my thoughts are getting all mixed up here as I'm talking about working memory. But then I also put these index cards because these are really the salient points that I wanted to hit home. And I put them as color coded, almost like a traffic light. Okay. So that they could sort of go from green, yellow to red and then stop, because those are the 3 main points when we get to the end. So we're going to verbalize it in this way. And before I do it, I'll let you know this is something you can do in any subject area with any concept that you're trying to help students to remember. So really, it could work with any terminology that you're talking about with students. But yes, I do try to keep them down to like 3 main points. So our choices are syllable, long, and silent. So we have VCE is a syllable type. Okay, so I'm modeling it first. This is like a scaffold, okay? VCE is a syllable type with a long vowel. VCE is a syllable type with a long vowel, and the E is silent. All right, so I've gone through the 3. Now, what I would do is pull them out and now have the student do it with me. We'll go through again. All right, and going through each of the different parts. And then I would have the students try to do it on their own and then practice verbalizing it orally to you, maybe just as a quick visual, but maybe trying to look away. Okay, or maybe turn the cards around and see what's behind them. The other thing that you can do is create actions that go with there. So with syllable type, you could make your hands like a rectangle. With the long vowel, we can remember this from one of my old multisensory trainings. You remember the long vowel symbol as like someone with a very serious face, the flat line. And then for E is silent, remember. So sometimes kids need a little visual or a little action to go along with remembering the points, the 3 main points of a concept that you're reviewing. So this scaffold can be used and pulled out from the very beginning when you're first introducing a concept, and then keep pulling it back, just keep repeating it and refreshing their memory to the point where, see if they're able to verbalize without this scaffold. So let me know what you think. I'm curious to see if this is something that you've tried before with your students, or if you have something that's worked really well. I'd love to hear about that too. But you'll find the link once again to working memory and learning, and in the link below, and you'll notice that this is really something that's based on some of the practical strategies that they have outlined in here for working memory. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, you can find me on my YouTube channel, or you can check out the Literacy Nest video vault. Have a great day.